Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the Isle of Man in the UK. This is John and Mike's MMA Corner.
This week on John and Mike's MMA Corner, we talk Jon Jones and his potential reckless driving, Cyborg signing with the UFC, and much more. Plus our guests, Elias Theodore and Ian McCall. So check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the Isle of Man in the UK. This is John and Mike's MMA Corner.
Welcome one and all to John and Mike's MMA Corner.
MMA from a different angle.
And before we kick off with obviously our usual saga of laughter and seriousness, professionalism, we're going to start by asking you all to jump onto Facebook, Twitter, the lot really, the social networking sites, and give some of our esteemed colleagues a follow, because their hard work really helps not only us and yourselves, but just MMA grow. So first up we have MMA Scotland. We'd like you to also jump onto UFC Wreckage on Facebook. Their Twitter handle and their website is MMA Wreckage.
We also have MMA UK, and their Twitter handle is We Are MMA UK.
Jump on to Facebook to Fighting and MMA.
We also have on Facebook and Twitter The Real MMA Talk.
And last but not least, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter. Can't miss them. If you like a giggle, you like a laugh, jump onto Funny MMA, kind of putting a light-hearted view on the aspects of MMA and the goings-ons.
I thought it was serious.
Exactly. So that's what you want to jump onto. Now what we're going to do is jump straight in to this week's edition. So like I said, our guests are Elias Theodore and Ian McCall. I want to thank the guys for coming on. You can check the interviews out on the descriptions below. Also, if you look at our SoundCloud or YouTube channel, you will see them there under the Podcast 101 interviews. Podcast 101 then, it is happening right now. Mike, let's kick off with, let's say, should we start with Cyborg? Let's start with Cyborg. I want to talk about that straight away. Signing with the fight with the UFC finally. She's taken on Leslie Smith at 140 pounds. How, I tell you what, we talked last week about the Brazil card and how stacked it was. And then they just added this fight to it. And I just cannot believe how that card, I think it's better almost than the UFC 200 card could be.
Yeah, I think potentially, because, let's be honest, with Cyborg fighting in the UFC, that's like the second biggest fight, women's fight, before it's made, than almost like the first ever women's fight. Do you know what I mean? It's the importance of it, because it's been anticipated since we've had women fighting in the UFC. And that's not to put down the any other women's fight. I just, you know what I mean? Like we've always said, what's it going to be like when Cyborg, if she comes to the UFC, what's she going to be like?
It does, and you know what? I think that apparently, Cyborg, there's all rumours spread about who was trying to get matched up with, because not a lot of people are overly enthusiastic about Leslie Smith fight, because Leslie Smith hasn't had the best run in the UFC. She's at 125er. Now she's going to fight at 140. It's not, everyone basically is saying it's a foregone conclusion. You never know in MMA, but at the same time, I'm pretty confident Leslie Smith is going to have a really rough time in Brazil. But what happened with Leslie Smith was, it was a smart thing. She was a free agent, she said, and she negotiated this fight as part of her contract. So it's, from her side of things, smart move. Takes the fight that no one wants, begs for it, gets herself a new contract, keeps herself in the UFC, keeps that money coming in, because let's be honest, we know when she goes to, if she were to go back to Invicta, she wouldn't be on the same money.
No, and let's be honest, she's in win-win. If she wins, she changes her life. Her life if she wins. You know what I mean? That's like a world title fight, that is. And if she loses, who's she shocking? No one. You know what I mean? So it doesn't hurt her career at all.
It doesn't, no.
And it wins her, favoritism with the UFC, which, let's be honest, that's what you want. If you want to Daniel,
you want to stay there a bit longer, yeah.
And, she's got nothing to lose. Okay, it would be a loss of her card, but if she does lose, that is, but it's, let's be honest, in the UFC is expected to beat Cyborg?
It's not who's expected to beat her. It's
there's not many girls. That you
there's a lot of girls who could. Yeah, you've got Holly Holm, Miesha Tate, and Ronda Rousey, the top 3 girls who could potentially cause problems.
Yeah,
even
and maybe Kat Zingano.
Kat Zingano,
I mean?
Well, the thing is, the rumour is with Kat Zingano, Mike, is it looks like it's pretty much done deal. It's probably going to be announced. Is Kat Zingano versus Juliana Pena on UFC 200?
Yes, yeah, which I like that fight.
I like that fight. It was pretty much. It sounded like that was pretty much the only option for Kat to fight. It didn't sound like she was going to get Ronda because Ronda's not come back yet. It looks like they might have Miesha Tate fight on the 200 card as well. Dana White hinting there might be a title fight. Probably Holly Holm again, the rematch.
Yep, makes sense.
There's a chance because Dana said there'll be 2 or 3 women's fights on the UFC 200 card. Another women's fight that came along. Carla Esparza is back in. She's stepping in to fight Juliana Lima because Jessica Aguilera got injured. So UFC 197. You know, Carla Esparza did talk recently about wanting to come back maybe around UFC 199. You know, she was out for most of the year because of surgery on her shoulder. She's back now. Interested to see how that fight goes down. I'm more interested to see how she comes back and how she performs because
I want to see where her mind's at.
It was a
big
fight.
How confident she was. This was a girl that was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, they're pretty much all confident, but she would come in with an almost like an arrogant confidence that she went into the house believing I'm the champion already. You know, I'm going to stay champion, which she was, and she did. But and then she lost big style, so that's a bit of a that can be a bit of a psychological sort of damage, you know.
Yeah, I think that maybe, I know it sounds silly, maybe having the injury possibly could have helped her in the sense that...
I mean, she didn't have the...
Yeah, exactly. She has to focus on the rehab, so it takes her mind off what she's got to do to come back. I'm interested to see how she's done with training and everything else. You know, let's see how that goes down. Also, we've got Jon Jones, who had a driving incident. That's
folks, he's not fixed yet.
No, because I thought Cyborg was a big thing. Jon Jones a big thing. We'll talk about these 2 things first, buddy. So Jon Jones, look, have you watched it yourself, Mike? The incident, not the incident, sorry, the conversation that Jon Jones had with the police officer.
No, I haven't.
Right,
no,
ladies and gentlemen, I didn't know if you had. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. I have put it on our Facebook page for you to look at, so you can jump on. I've watched it myself. It looked like it was a bit of a tough one because you could see the frustration and anger in Jon Jones's voice and face and disdain about the incident going on. I don't know whether it was A, because he got caught, or B, because he felt he was not in the wrong and it was not fair. He felt like he was maybe being isolated or picked on. I feel like maybe because of what's happened with Jon Jones there, the Albuquerque police force might have, not a personal vendetta, but they might have a bit of a target on him to maybe not pick on him basically. I'm not putting it past him. You know what the police are like in the US. You know, even people in the US who are listening, let's be honest, they're not all the police officers are the best there. Look what's happened in recent times. He got 5 tickets for some ridiculous things as well, with the exhaust being too loud, being a disturbance, etc. He recently just had court today when this went out. When we did the recording this, he was in court this morning. He agreed a plea to basically do community service, and he didn't have a curfew implemented on him because it could affect his training, so then that was a negotiation side of things of that. If he does anything now while he's on, because he's on probation from his last incident, 18-month probation. If the judge said if I see you again, it's not going to end well for you, it really won't. I am still bewildered why the UFC have not sat there and went, John, we are giving you a driver, whether you like it or not, and that's it. I do not understand why they cannot buy him a driver to go from A to B. It will cost a lot less to give him a driver than it will to pay for lawyers' fees and court cases.
And jeopardising fight cards. You know, now I believe this will carry on as planned.
It is, yeah.
This fight with Daniel Cormier. But, you know, it's like, unless the next thing happens, you know what I mean? At what point, you know, it's, oh dear, you know, I just don't understand it. You know, it makes you think, is this problem bigger? Because let's be honest. If the police stop me for anything, no matter how much they wanted to, there's nothing they could pin on me. Nothing whatsoever. Yeah? I'm 100% legal, and, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing they could attach to me.
The thing is, with Jon Jones, it's... The UFC, of course, they're going to put the fight on still because it's money. The thing is, everyone's got to remember, the UFC is working as a business structure. They're not working as best fights. They know what Jon Jones will do for them with this fight with DC. They know that will make a lot of dollar. And if you take if you take that fight away, you have to put Demetrius Johnson in as your main event for a pay-per-view. And they know, I love Demetrius Johnson, but the problem is, they know he will not bring money in.
No.
And
it's a shame because you don't, Demetrius, you're like the absolute favourite at the moment. But it doesn't. He's not everyone's pace for some reason, and but I just can't get my head around Jon. I think to yourself, like, even if the police were pulling you over, etc. Does he? I know these guys are fighters, and sometimes it's hard to keep your mouth shut or something. But did he? Makes you wonder, did he run his mouth?
He didn't run his mouth. I watched. Well, he did run his mouth a little bit in a way, but he was very smart the way he said his things, though, in a sense of it wasn't enough to get him into trouble. I watched it. You see, I watched the video.
Right.
But yeah, it's a tough one because from the UFC perspective, they're not looking at Jon Jones the person. They're looking at Jon Jones as an asset. But then if you take away what he is in the UFC, you look at him as a person, you think, do you know what he is? He's a human being. And he is a human being like us all. We're not all perfect. He makes mistakes like everyone else. And the only thing is, he's just not the best driver. That's it. So what? He's not a great driver. That's it. That's the only problem about Jon Jones. He's just not the best driver.
You know what? He makes some big-ass mistakes, though, let's be honest.
Well, he does make big mistakes, but the thing is, if you gave Jon Jones... let's say a simple car. Let's say for everyone to know, a Prius. Okay, a Prius, all right, is a very useful car, bog standard. Not bog standard, but it's a pretty standard car. I probably feel that you would have a lot less problems with Jon Jones. But if you give Jon Jones a sports car, guess what? It's like if you give anyone else a sports car, you're going to increase the chances of them probably putting their foot down and having a bit more of an accident, etc. So. He's just a human being like everyone else. That's what everyone's got to remember. He'll just make errors like us all. And for me, I think that, he just needs to personally just get a really basic car and just stuff these silly fancy cars.
He needs to lose his driving license.
Well, America's funny though with the driving license thing. You lose it and you get it back pretty quick. Apparently, they're not like it's not like the UK way. Apparently, I'm not sure how they work it, but it's like you can pass your driver's license at 15 in America and all sorts, and the tests seem pretty simple, to be fair.
I don't know, you think to yourself, like, who are the people he's got round him? That's what I want to ask you. Where's that good friend that's sort of like taking him aside and saying, Jon, we just need to control things a little bit more.
Well, I'm just surprised Jackson and Winklejohn aren't saying, look, let's just get you a driver. I don't see why they're not doing it. The coaches, when he comes to train and say, why are you still driving a sports car? We're going to get you a taxi home. Don't worry about it. But anyway, you could sit here trying to make all sorts of... We don't know what's going on in Jon Jones' head when he drives.
Yeah, has he got a best friend that's saying to him, come on, let's go party? I think he needs, the personality is a little bit broken, shall we say.
I love them to bits, though, to be fair. I love it. I like guys that do mistakes because it shows that they're human anyway. Look, we'll touch on Cage Warriors announcing some more fights for their card. You get to see Jack Hermanson defend his belt. He's actually fighting on the Valor fight. Is it not Valor? It's the Ventor fights down in Italy.
Yeah.
But he's also fighting on the Cage Warriors card against Alan Carlos, defending his middleweight title. You've got Brad Wheeler coming back too. He's fighting Scott Cleese. Then you've got Chris Fishgold against Jordan Miller. So, some names they're looking like Jack Hermanson, Brad Wheeler, and Chris Fishgold are kind of guys they're going to use to try and get the public.
And they're guys I like to watch. You know, I believe they're entertaining fighters. You know, they like to mix it up, and you know, I'm pleased. You know, there's some names on there that do entertain me, and I'm sure entertain, you know, many of the fans. So
they're smart. They're not going too big. They're building themselves slow again. Cage Warriors. They're not going to try it to 100 miles per hour. They know that Bama basically have taken the market share, and they've got to build themselves up again, and they'll do it. You know, just give them the time. Graham's a very smart businessman.
I play for them. Like,
I'll be shocked if you don't see this card on Fight Pass or any sooner than that. I'm not saying that I've heard anything or any rumours or rumblings. I'm just, you know, whatever. Okay.
It belongs there. It has a home there. I'm sure it does. You know.
Mike, UFC 200. A couple of fights have been announced. Look, let's do. Okay, you got Takanori Gomi against Jim Miller. I was surprised at that fight being announced for UFC. The UFC 200 card in general, I'm not sitting there going, wow, at the moment.
No.
But Gomi Miller, it's an okay fight. It's not a bad fight. The pair of them are on a decline, to be fair. They're not.
Yes, yeah. There's not a lot of the fighter left in them, I don't think.
No,
you know.
it's the name that's carrying them for this card.
They've both given a lot of themselves over the years.
Yeah.
You know, and they've been in some fantastic fights. I'm kind of surprised and pleased to see Jim Miller still in the UFC.
Yeah, me too.
You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm happy for him. If he'd got cut, would I have been surprised? No. But I am pleased that he's still there. You know what? I just hope there's one more Jim Miller performance left there, and against Gomi, you might see it.
What about Joe Lozon, Diego Sanchez? Because I was initially thought, yes, awesome, can't wait for that. But the problem is, when Diego Sanchez fought Jim Miller, I thought exactly the same, and it was like a whoopee cushion going off. You know, it was just a disappointment. It wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be.
I mean, you had potentially a pink slip fight there, and it almost looked like he was trying to protect his career rather than entertain the crowd. Which, okay, you know, I'll give him one fight to do that, you know, because he has entertained time and time again and given so much of himself over the years. If he has to do one fight where he tries to protect his career, he can have that, you know. I'm not going to crucify him for that, because that's how it appeared. But you've got two guys there that love to entertain, and yeah, I'm going to look forward to that fight, because no matter how poor the last fight might have been, I feel that this one has to entertain.
Yeah, and we had another announcement was an interim title fight, which with Aldo and Frankie Edgar. Now, I want to give my quick perspective on this. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're doing an interim title fight. The only reason they're doing the interim title fight is the only reason probably that Aldo and Edgar would fight is if it was for a title, and they obviously couldn't give the title. The problem is everyone's having a go at Conor McGregor for not defending his 145 belt, but what you've got to remember is he only won it in December, and when this fight comes up with UFC 200, there'll be 7-8 months since he last defended it. When you had Aldo as a title holder, on average, he was only defending his belt every 10 months or something like that. So it's a bit. I can understand, but the problem they've got is he is healthy. That's the difference in this circumstance. Aldo was getting injured, but with Conor, he's always healthy, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be defending his belt. The thing is, I'm a bit aggrieved by this matchup with Frankie and Aldo. I don't see I see no point in the interim title, but I see the reason why they've done it is because that is probably the only reason they can get those two guys in a cage again without Conor McGregor being involved, is if there is for him something like a belt. You know, you can't sit there and go, the winner fights Conor, because Frankie, let's be honest, has done anything and everything that he can do to get the title shot.
Exactly. And with Aldo, you've got, you know, Mr. Featherweight division up until recent times, who has pretty much ruled. He has been, you know, 99.9% of the time that that's been a UFC title. It's been round although, you know, it's only since the Conor fight that it hasn't, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, it's, I mean, I don't really understand all these blimmin' Mickey Mouse belts. Like, you know, if you've got a champion, you've got a champion.
Yeah.
If you find someone else, then so be it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel that if it comes up to a year and it can't be defended, then okay. But less than a year, no, you don't do a
interim title.
But titles make money.
They
you know,
do.
People like to know that it's a title fight. You know, at the end of the day, a fight's a fight.
Another fight then with the UFC 200 card we'll quickly touch on is Kelvin Gastelum against Johnny Hendricks. Two guys that have a problem making 170. Now, to be fair though, Johnny Hendricks has never officially missed weight at 170. That's something that needs to be noted. Yes, he had trouble getting down there, but he's never officially missed weight though.
No, he's always managed it. Yeah, the biggest fight could be on the scales. But what I did like was how he looked on the scales for his last fight, how he prepared for his last fight. You know, I now he seems to be taking it serious, and you know, I'm pleased that he finally invested in his diet and his weight properly. You know.
So how do you feel about the fight though with Kelvin and Johnny?
Do you know what? It's interesting because you've got two guys that can wrestle. You've got but like to strike. You know, it's so. You know, it's that. You know, will there be any wrestling in this fight, or will it be just striking? You know, I think there's going to be very little wrestling in this fight. This is going to be.
Yeah, but I'll admit, I think Johnny Hendricks is a higher pedigree of wrestler. What you've got to take into context with this fight is, Calvin lost his fight to Neil Magny. Johnny Hendricks got absolutely washed over by Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who is on another level at the moment. Stephen Thompson is just in that zone, and you've also Johnny Hendricks had those wars with Robbie Lawler. So for Hendricks, is it a case of he had those injuries, the torn biceps, etc. The shin was fractured, etc. He had a handful of injuries
and a life of hard wrestling.
Has it taken its toll on him? Did the large weight cuts take a toll on him when he fights Kelvin? It's a big fight for Johnny because he needs to get a win. Let's be honest, he really needs to get a win, get himself back up there in that mix, keep himself in contention.
Yeah, I mean, if he loses to Kelvin, that's really hurtful for his career. Really hurtful.
It's huge. I think it makes a huge dent, and I look forward to the fight though because you've got a young Kelvin against an experienced Johnny Hendricks. Like Johnny's fought guys who are far superior than Kelvin, and I think it's going to be a really tough fight for Kelvin, in my opinion. But I look forward to seeing what Johnny Hendricks comes back.
Yeah, I mean, with Kelvin, you've got somebody that I think Johnny's going to land punches on him, and he hits big.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to see how Kelvin takes those shots.
Yeah. Let's do the last one is Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz rematch, UFC 200, 170 pounds. It was pretty much put out there probably about a week or two ago now. I can't even remember. It's been talked about for so long.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
I was going to say I'm surprised with this fight. I'm not surprised the fight's been made. I think it's the right fight. Okay, he lost. Do the rematch. It's going to, you might as well plant your money trees. It's going to make mega bucks.
Yeah. It is.
But the thing that surprised me was the weight.
See, Nate asked for it. No, Nate asked for it at 155, but Conor wanted it at 170.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. It's like ego, Like I said to you off air before. Is this kind of saying, I lost at 170, I want to fix it at 170?
But the problem is, like, if he loses, how much does it affect him? Because he's lost to the same guy again. I think it's probably more damaging if he was to have gone to, say, 145 and fought Frankie, let's say, for the belt, defendant's belt, and he lost to Frankie, because then he's lost to two guys in two weight classes. I think it would have more of an impact than if he was to lose to Nate again. Because if he loses to Nate again, no one's going to sit there and go, oof. Everyone will kind of be like, Yeah, I kind of semi-expected it because I've seen it happen before. It's nothing new.
Nate got his number, is he, one of those things, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem is Conor can't go into that fight with Nate again and say, oh, I'm going to pace myself a little bit more than I did last time, because I'll be honest, you can't pace yourself because Nate's just going to have a ridiculous 5-round pace, because Nate gets a full... He gets Nate gets a full fight camp this time. So
exactly.
It's a different Nate.
He doesn't have to go in as slow as last time. If what he said is true, and I can believe that a bit, where he said that they basically said, right, okay, let's give away the first round, let's have a look at him.
Yeah.
And that's what I watched an interview that Nate did, back at the fight, and he actually says like the only thing that surprised him was that he was getting hit.
Mm.
With a full camp where he's sparring, he's sharp, and everything else. Because it doesn't matter if your fitness is on point or anything else. It's like, okay, are you on point fight-wise? As your movement, etc. And with a full camp, it doesn't to me make sense. But then again, Conor's done a few things in the past that haven't made sense to me, and until after the fight, and you go, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah. It sounds silly, but I think it's possibly in a way, out of all the possible fights he could have, like he could fight Aldo again, he could fight Frankie again. So he could fight Frankie, or that they're the only other two fights I think that were possibly really on the table for him. He couldn't have fought RDA because he lost to Nate. I think out of the 3 fights between Aldo, Frankie, and Nate's probably, it sounds silly, the safer one out of all 3 he could afford to lose.
Yeah, and to be honest, I can see where it's coming from. If you've lost to someone, you want to right that. You want to make it right. Before you go on, you want to say, right, let's sort out this mistake.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that as much as I think that Frankie deserves a chance for the title, Frankie doesn't have to fight Conor to become champion. Frankie just has to be given the chance to become champion.
Mm.
So if Conor vacates and moves, and stays in a higher weight division, I'm okay with that. So Frankie missed out. I'm not worried as long as Frankie does get a title shot at some point. That's what he deserves. I think the fight is the right fight. I just think the weight is. I don't understand it. I'd like to have seen Conor fighting at 155.
Yeah, me too, mate. It's weird. We'll go to this weekend. There is no UFC again, and there's no other huge promotions. The only card really to talk about is World Series of Fighting. They've got one on. I didn't call them a huge promotion. I don't believe they. Still don't feel they are. You got David Branch defending his belt middleweight title against Clifford Starks. You've got John Fitch fighting João Severano for the welterweight title, and Vinny Magalhaes who's fighting Jake Hoon. Those are 3 kind of fights that stick out more than anything. Just in case you thought there was no MMA on this weekend, there actually is some. You wouldn't know World Series of Fighting is on, to be fair, because I don't feel they pushed it enough. Knowing that the UFC's not on this weekend, they had ample opportunity to really maximise themselves with this card and the whole event, but I feel like it's going to go right under the radar again. They're probably going to get not the best ratings as they usually do. I think I missed the boat again.
Yeah, the way forward this day and age is social media.
Yeah.
It's where I get an awful lot of my information on pretty much most things now. It's my new TV sort of thing. It's like I never watch the news. It's social media. And then if there's something I would need to find out more about, I might then Google it or whatever. But it's you think to yourself, well, social media is so cheap. Well, the only thing you're paying for is that wage bill for the person who's...
Mike, the World Series of Fighting do put the effort. They do put an effort on their own social media stuff, for their promotions. But what I'm talking about is, Mike, when I do the Twitter and stuff like that. I do quite a lot on Twitter with the podcasting and stuff like that for the podcast tweets and stuff. I follow a lot of people in the MMA community, and there really isn't a lot being talked about on that side of things, which really says a lot about how much effort they're making, possibly with the journalists and press. But the thing is, a lot of people within the press world, Mike, they're not even that keen on World Series of Fighting anyway. Even some of the guys just go, oh, they've got a card on, and even they brush it off. So they're still fighting they're fighting an uphill battle, really, to be fair.
Yeah, I think they've carried themselves wrong in the past, and they're paying the price for that.
We're going to talk one last thing, though, Mike, is the UFC have cut the greatest of all time. I could not believe they cut him this week. His record in the UFC was 6-2. Jared Rosholt. I'm just devastated.
I know, he had, I've lost count of how many bonuses he won in his time in the UFC.
He had fights that everyone will remember for the rest of their days. He was one of them guys who just got the crowd on the edge of their seats. But on a serious note, though,
yes, because of the bar.
If you look at this though, Gerard Rosholt, he, in theory, he was on a 4-fight win streak, lost one fight, then got cut. It really, really shows what the difference. This MMA, is it a sport or is it sports entertainment? Because he was not.
That's almost a mirror of
John Fitch.
Miller's last few fights.
Well, the problem we've got is he wasn't doing anything wrong except for he wasn't winning how the UFC want you to win. So he was winning within the rules. He wasn't doing anything wrong. So it just amplifies again that the UFC is a business. They're not about who's the best. Because Gerard Rosholt, imagine Gerard Rosholt had won all his fights in decision, and just basically laying prey on people. Well, if you can't stop it, that's not his fault, and it's almost like a Ben Askren side of things where if he can suffocate you, that's your fault. And if he wins a title, imagine the last thing UFC could want is Gerard Rosholt to win a title. That would be the worst. And I'm not putting anything on Gerard Rosholt. Like, to be fair, the dude can, he's a very good grappler, but the problem is, how do you sell a guy like that? He's impossible to sell, and that's what it is. It's purely sports entertainment.
Yeah, like before, we were talking about Jim Miller, who's lost quite a few in his recent fights, but because he has gone out there, laid it on the line, entertained in so many fights in the past, he keeps that career going. And he gets fights on big cards. Like he gets on the end of year cards. I remember he was on 168 where he had that brilliant armbar. The UFC threw him $50,000 for that.
Yeah, we know. I know, mate. We said it before. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he got my bonus. You know what I mean? And even in losing some fight, he's been really entertaining. It just goes to show that if you can entertain, you can keep your career with the UFC going that bit further.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Yeah,
you're out that door the first chance they get. First excuse they get, boom, you're gone.
And you're right there, honestly. And that's the way the sport is. Though, like I say, it's sports entertainment, and for them to be taken seriously, there's certain things they got to look at. Look, that's this week's podcast done. We want to firstly say, if you enjoyed it, if you liked it, please like this. If you're listening to it on YouTube, share this, comment, whatever. Also, the interviews we had with Elias Theodore and Ian McCall, they are on the links. Just jump on. They're on the page. They're on SoundCloud, whatever. Just jump in, like them, listen to them, enjoy them. And we will be back next week for more conversation and more fight talk. And we hope you all enjoyed this week. We certainly did. We had a great time. And we just want to get you, before you go, jump on your social networking sites and give these people a follow. We have
MMA Scotland.
We have on Facebook UFC Wreckage. Also, their website and Twitter is MMA Wreckage.
We also have MMA UK, and their Twitter handle is We Are MMA UK.
On Facebook, we have Fighting and MMA.
And on Facebook and Twitter, we have The Real MMA Talk.
And then last but not least, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, they're funny. They talk about MMA. It's funny MMA. Jump on. They'll give you a giggle. And let's finish off with thank you very much, everyone. We will be back very soon, won't we, Mike?
Yep, definitely. Thank you very much and goodbye.